Okay, welcome back to Yamcha Sessions. This is our very first episode of VFO Very Fast One. It's going to be a very concise version of a podcast. Today's date is the 3rd of February 2024. So for context, when we do the podcast, the date should always be mentioned in the beginning. What are we going to be talking about today, MJ?
So we're going to react to Najib's pardon.
His half sentence.
Half sentence only on the duration, but a 3/4 reduction on the amount he has to pay. So from 12 to 6 years, and then from 200 odd million to 50 million ringgit.
Wait, so not only did he get a half sentence, he's getting a discount?
He's getting a discount. Yeah.
He's also getting a let off if, let's just say, he did not pay that 50 million, and he'll just have to sit for another year in jail.
Yeah, so if he doesn't pay the 50 million, then it becomes 7 years instead of 6. I find this all very funny because the news popped on 2/2, February the 2nd. So it's like Shopee discount. Anyways.
Oh, damn.
Anyways, there's a lot to be said. Obviously, there's a lot of people who are very emotional about it. I think a lot of people in our friend groups are very angry about it. And those who are not in our friend groups typically probably a little bit happier. But anyways, what are your initial reactions? Maybe start with Andrew.
My initial reaction is you charged him a sentence of 12 years under the grounds that he is in fact guilty. There should be a rationale as to why we want to now give him a discount to 6 years. I feel the people deserve that, although I understand that legally no explanation is required when you are given a pardon from the gods above us.
Okay.
So I disagree with the fact that they can do things without having to explain themselves. I think that's number one. Number two, I feel my initial reaction is this discount in terms of sentencing is a way to appease both parties. Party one, your urban cohort like us, who obviously don't agree with what he'd done and deserve the sentence that he got.
Yeah.
And the other cohort where you have your more
Conservative.
rural / suburban folks who obviously want his sentence completely removed. So
It's like meet me halfway.
yeah, meet me halfway.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on the matter lah.
Okay, so how about Vincent?
Just generally disappointed. I didn't know too much about it until just 2 days ago, and then suddenly the whole news was popping up left and right. And the first question I have is why?
Yeah.
And since yesterday, so when the results are out and I scroll down to find the answers through the comment section, just hoping for people to at least talk about it, there was no why. But of course, Andrew was saying that they don't need to review the decision. But yeah, what's the point of all the fighting to get to this stage where, okay, you could have just, not endure the whole sentence and take the punishment that you are supposed to, that you deserve. Instead, here's a better deal for you. Of course, I think there are a lot of things that are put into play as well, which we can only guess.
Yeah.
But my general feeling is disappointing and really gives us, really makes us go back to the thinking of like, let's just focus on ourselves. But at the same time, you still need this justice to be
Handed out.
Yeah, you still needed that because it's gonna flow to the other parties. Other parties will be like, okay, I can probably do the same thing as well.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm feeling.
Initial thoughts for me was why, and then it actually came very quick to me in minutes that I'm like, actually, would I rather have him in jail or have him out and pay at least something? So at least he's contributing back to, I mean, not contributing, he's fixing a bit of his previous mistake instead of being in jail. So at least he's going to come out to do something to make up for what has been lost.
Like community service.
Yeah.
Sweeping the floor.
But in this case, it's the fine he has to still pay, right? Because if he were to be in prison for 12 years, is it 12 before this? Is it 12? Then 12 became years. 6, right? So if it became 6, I think you give him another 6 to earn back more, but I think you can also, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. My thoughts were, they let him out early so that he can pay back at least what a part of it he lost. So that was my initial thought. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's the reason why he did it. Although there was no clear indication that was going to happen.
Even if he did, do you think he's going to pay back?
I think
crooks never pay back.
Yeah, maybe. But I was a bit more positive in this one, because I feel like I somewhat trust the new government more than the previous.
So that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Because now obviously they asked the reaction of the new government, Anwar maybe, and he basically say, look, before the royal pardon was handed out, the then Agong basically seek sort of not permission but the views of Anwar himself. Basically, he asked around before he decide going
Ahead with that decision.
to pardon
Najib.
Najib. Now, what's very interesting is that a lot of the same people that really like this Agong, because let's not forget in November 2022 is this same Agong or ex-Agong that said, hey, yes, I entrust the Madani government, which is a combination of DAP,
PN.
PKR, your Sabah Sarawak, and then UMNO, right? So a lot of people were like, hey, great, this Agong is awesome.
Unity.
Now, obviously, the same Agong is saying, no, like, oh, he's going to give the pardon, right? So if you had to guess, why do you think, come with whatever theory, why do you think he was given the pardon?
My theory is this. You need somebody who is equally as powerful to be on the opposition. One fine day, when the time is right, you need that face. Similar to Mahathir, when he was retired, he's out of the scene, and then he came back and he managed to, bring the other side of the voters who is on the fence to a side.
Now, to your point, it's very interesting. That is on your assumption if Najib joins the opposition, right? But then his party is in the government now.
That's my assumption of if, let's just say, he decides he's being used as a figurehead for another party, he could easily shift.
My thoughts on the matter as to why I think the Agong made this decision is because he wants the nation to be politically stable. In order to do that, if Najib were to be released early, joins UMNO again, aka the Madani government, the Madani government is more likely to retain power
Stability.
and keep political stability. I think that's the rationale. I still disagree with it nonetheless, but I can at least understand that thought process.
And the rationale why he did it.
Yeah.
I didn't even go that far, honestly. I just thought that, the reason why he did it is because maybe he needs to pay back a certain amount. So at least he's doing something rather than rotting in jail.
To put into perspective that point, right? The 1MDB scandal was $4.5 billion US.
Yes.
Yep.
Of which 1 billion went to Najib's personal bank account.
Yes.
And basically went fuck all missing.
Yes, the other three lah. Yes.
Yeah. That $1 billion US is there on one side of the fence. GB's fine in total is 200 million ringgit.
So it's a one.
So it's $50 million as a percentage of 1 billion.
Ringgit lah.
Yeah.
Ringgit.
Yeah. So as a percentage of $1 billion US, that's fucking nothing, right?
It's
$50 million US is nothing. And then on the $50 million US, which I'm converting by 4 to 1 now, okay, roughly, he only pays 25% of that. So about 10 to 12.5 million dollars only.
That's not
Which
a lot. That's not even 1/10.
It's literally 1%.
Yeah.
So that's insignificant, if anything.
I did not know the numbers, to be fair. I just thought reduce sentence and also have to pay a certain amount. So I didn't know lah. To be fair, I didn't do my homework lah. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. But I think what's interesting about this case is that it's so close to the Netflix documentary. And
you did ask us to watch that.
And maybe that's the reason why he's asking people to take down, because he's so close to a pardon.
so his whole argument, and I'm just going to play the Najib defender, right, in this whole entire podcast, right? And that is, his thing is like, look, I trusted the wrong people.
Yeah.
And the system did not signal and inform me to this.
Yeah.
And and to be honest, I see where it's coming from, honestly. Because this is something that the system needed to address. So case in point, the details is when they did this thing called bond offering, which is just raising money through loans, and they used Goldman Sachs to do it. I think it was somewhere around the level of 6 billion ringgit or 6 billion US dollar. I cannot remember the number. I know the 6 billion, right? And so the way a deal like that works in finance is, let's say if I want to help you raise a certain amount, typically it's like 2%. Like as the investment banker, I'll get like 2%. So in this case, with 6 billion, I will charge you 2%. That is 60 million, right? But instead, they got 600 million, okay, which is 10%, which is way above. This is profiteering already, right? Now, of course, I think it was absolutely bad for him to not even know that the numbers are out of whack. That's the first one. But he
was finance minister and also prime minister at the time also,
And
right?
chairman of 1MDB.
Oh my lord.
So, but then at the same time also, there wasn't anyone to like signal
Flag him down that there was a...
why is this an issue? And of course, it doesn't help that he trusted Jolo and a bunch of other people as well. So I kind of get it. And if I had to give a theory why Agong gave him the pardon, is because, you know, in Malaysia, a lot of it is personal relationships. And when he heard this, you can somehow understand because you have so many responsibilities,
moving parts.
right? And then you just miss the ball on this and then it just steamrolls into something.
And people take advantage of the fact that you're in that power position and then you are like quite negligent to all these little things, right? Because you are basically the goal, like the green lighter only.
But at the same time, he also knows what those money are being used for. Like how Jolo is spending the money. His son is like doing Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh yeah, actually that's true. That's quite apparent,
So
right?
I think that's when, I think all of that happened so quickly.
Yeah, but the interviewer has a very good question because the interviewer was pushing pushing the boundaries even more by saying things like, so you think everyone else failed? You think the system failed? You think the person beneath you failed, but you didn't fail? And he refused to say, no, I didn't fail. So he refused to say that. He doesn't want to take a single accountability based on what we can see in the interview. So I guess that's the part that, regardless of like whatever thing that goes in your usual work, at the end of the day, you are still the person that approves everything.
And you're still held accountable.
Yeah.
Basically, big boss also make mistake.
That's why the interviewer asked him, said something, there's an American phrase called the buck stops here.
Yeah.
Which is...
The what stops here, sorry?
The buck stops here.
Like bug, like insect or
BUCK.
Oh, the bug. Okay.
Basically, you are the boss, and so you can blame all you want, but you're the one that signed you. And I genuinely believe that Najib just didn't know what he was doing, and he just wasn't on the ball on the details and all that. But where, like you said, the issue is that he's not sorry for it. I think that's the whole issue.
Yeah, part of me kind of agree with you that he's actually just somebody who is like following other people's instructions. Yeah, part of me also can see that.
I think he's trusting.
Yeah.
He's too trusting.
I see that. I can understand that perspective also, but it doesn't absolve you from guilt.
Absolutely.
Fundamentally.
And it's also his initial plan to make himself the finance minister and the prime minister. So knowing that you have multiple responsibilities, you still entrusted yourself with that responsibility.
That's on you, man.
Yeah. So when you choose to do it, I mean, obviously he did that only to have easier approvals, right? So when you do that to yourself, you open yourself up to more things. I mean, it's not like as if you got to your position without understanding the full context of both positions. And he knowingly did that. So you knowingly did that and you make your mistake. You takkan say now you didn't make a mistake, right? Technically you made two mistakes, so you trusted yourself wrongly and you trusted the other people wrongly also. Two negatives don't make a positive here, this one.
But I guess the next question is, okay, look, actually before we talk about our conclusion and the future, right? Like how will you address this personally? So I just share my perspective. Everyone was up in flames, right?
Yes.
Especially in our kind of social group.
Yes.
And I don't know if you all saw my story. I just put, look.
I saw. Ross Stevenson also reshared.
I just say it very simple. Number one, right? Even if you double, you put him 24 years in jail and he has to pay 400 million ringgit, right? You still have to fight inflation. You still have to ask that girl out. And you still have to exercise.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Malaysians, right, especially those within our social group, they're taking all these things that are happening on a macro level and basically saying, see, this is why Malaysia cannot progress, which is also an indirect way of them saying, look, I'm never going to do well because of this.
It's like an excuse to their personal lives, that's what you're saying. A part of it, at least.
That's where I think a lot of this portion of the riot coming out. But I don't know how would you all go about this from a personal point of view?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you still have to go to governmental offices and know that, oh, okay, you have your trust is affected. Or whether if it's like something happens to you and you want to report to the police and you're not sure if justice is really there.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the feeling, despite the fact that we have to take care of our own well-being, you know, how we are putting food on the table. Yep. But it's also, it takes a village, right? It takes a whole system around you to enable you to be successful. And part of this system, you know, is kind of corrupt or not perfect. So I think that's what people are feeling. Despite the fact that, you know, I don't have too much attachment to this as well. But just hearing the news, I just feel disappointed. But the next thing I got to do is that I got to go back to work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Ultimately, life moves on, that's what I'm trying to say. Both also, you're on the same camera. Ultimately, life moves on. It's just that your trust a bit hurt.
But we need to make sure that the system that we are in, the structure is actually, it has its integrity. It has its integrity intact.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to be.
Because of all these instances.
But I will also say that Malaysia runs really like on a different system. There's a reason why we are Malaysia boleh.
That's why double park also can.
Ada jalan.
You, Drew, what do you think?
Yeah.
Likewise, I'm indifferent. Sure, disappointment, but not the first time. It's fine. Nothing to do with me.
Initially, I used to think, yes, I agree. And I'm not saying this for the sake of saying this. I still feel like as if life will go on nonetheless because politics don't really affect you directly yet. Yeah. I think most human beings only tackle problems when things are really that bad. So like when people start dying, then only people start to care basically.
Or it affects their livelihood.
Yeah. It has to directly affect you before you actually start to give a shit So for now, not directly yet. I mean, in some parts, yes, like because of the weak ringgit, investors don't want to invest in Malaysia. I mean, it does spill over. It's not harsh yet because I think Malaysians are very resourceful. We are, I think, one of the most resourceful in our region. Because of the poor ringgit, because of multiple factors. So to go back to the original point, I feel life still goes on. But I think it will never change until something really bad happens anyway. So for now, I don't think that really bad thing has happened.
Yeah.
So I don't... I guess life goes on. You still have to go to work, basically, right? Yeah.
Or I would say that since the beginning of our country, there's always been scandals, even on the scale of 1 MDB. Like in the 90s, we had the Forex scandal. Yeah. When Tun M was in charge, and a bunch of other scandals. So if we survive that, I'm quite sure we can survive this.
It's just that
people got rich anyways, no matter which.
It's just that how bad can it go and how far can it go as well, right? Like a lot of times, I think when we observe other countries, maybe perhaps we are one of the more vocal countries when it comes to politics. A lot of other countries don't. Yeah. Actually, I think even since when I was in the US, I think only Americans are that vocal, if you ask me. But then that's just me because I studied there. I feel that way.
Oh, they're super.
That time, it was the Obama reign and Andrew's time was during the Trump reign. So that jump as well was quite large. A lot of people were very vocal. But if you have a conversation with people in Japan, they don't care.
Yeah.
If you have a conversation with people in Singapore, they are forever proud anyway, so no point.
Yeah.
You go to Australia, nobody even cares.
Yeah, even in Taiwan as well.
Yeah, not many people.
I think Taiwan's pretty crazy though.
No, Taiwan people care.
Very crazy.
Taiwan people care?
Throw chairs and...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Hong Kong people care. Hong Kong people care.
Yeah, because there's
that one no choice. That one no choice. That one really almost there.
That one is like the minute like China took over, it's like changed textbook, you know?
I think for the Taiwan one is only a minority because I've been watching a lot of videos that interviews the people who are staying there.
Like those street interviews.
Yeah, the street interview.
I love those.
There's even survey in the form of survey on how the Taiwanese feel about the Taiwan fighting China, and a lot of them just wants to remain status quo.
Right.
So a lot of them like, things are fine as it is. It's just that the media is blowing things up. But every day they live day to day in their life without fear. So, yeah.
So, that's how we deal with it now. But when you look like forward as a country, right? Like how do we go about this?
Moving forward.
I'll just start first, right? I actually think that Najib was someone who had some of the best policies.
Okay.
He just had this 1 MDB scandal. Most people don't know this, but he actually wanted to remove a lot of the Bumiputra quotas. A lot of non-Malays doing this, like for the stock market. I'm not sure for education, but definitely for the stock market, if you get listed, especially in the main market, right, you actually need to allot 30% into Bumi institutions or individuals. He wanted to remove that or reduce that by half, or no, more than half actually, 60%. I always thought GST is a super efficient way to collect tax, right? Our tax revenue was like steadily increasing thanks to GST. But of course, once the 1MDB saga happened, then the opposition took full advantage to say, look,
GST is rubbish, that type of thing.
GST rubbish, blah, 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 and things like that, right? So, to Andrew's point, let's say if he comes back into politics, or by the way, we were discussing before that he can only join 5 years after his release.
Yep.
So let's say he stays another 6 years, plus 5 years is 11. So that is, you can only do it in the third term. So you have 15 now, so you can probably only start in G18.
Yeah, bro, by then he's
He'll be
the
like
new
almost
Biden
80
bro.
already. Yeah, it's Joe Biden already.
He's
But-
the new Biden, bro.
So it gets you to think whether he can really still affect politics that much.
Oh, Mahathir did it.
That's true.
Yes, but I
don't think he's as
but I
fit,
think Najib doesn't watch his food the way.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, right? But it'll be interesting to see him come back under UMNO, because I think if he comes back under UMNO, he can. So first of all, Zahid has to move aside, but secondly, I think he cannot take back the old UMNO crowd, but he can take back some. And the math works out that if he does take back some of what was lost to PN, the 2/3 majority for the Bernardi government is actually even more.
It's more solid. Yeah. Because
That's
now
just
PN is no longer in less PN now, right? Yeah.
Correct. So if he's smart and he comes back as, look, I'm not big anymore, but I'm significant, then maybe he can work together with Anwar. I don't know what you guys think. Where do we go?
That's very long-term thinking, lah. I mean, that's him coming out, that's him having influence. And by then also Anwar also has served his 2 terms, and
Exactly.
you know, it's quite long, lah. It's almost like a 12-year ahead of forecast, right?
Yeah.
My thoughts are, I think that we don't know what could possibly happen, because I think a lot of things now happen really fast. Like even this pardon happened really sudden. There was no word of it prior.
But he did request for it the moment he went to prison. So it was quite some time ago.
I see.
No, but the news actually leaked
it leaked,
2 days prior to the official statement of his pardon.
I see. So maybe, but to me, I feel 2 days is also still quite short. A lot of things can happen in 2 days or less also nowadays, and things can change fast. So I don't know to what extent, like, what our government can do, even if you were to be in a worst case, like I say PN comes back, or even if the current government stays in power. I really don't think there's much change. I really don't think there's much. Maybe I sound like I come from a place of privilege where the tax doesn't really affect me as much, and all that doesn't affect me as much. But I doubt it will be that harsh of a change, is what I think.
You know what would be crazy? If the new Agong reversed the pardon.
Oh Jesus, that one would be like crazy, bro. However, I think there are people who think this is a good thing or a bad thing or whatever, that the Agong has a little bit more power and influence now.
Yeah.
Right? I feel that I love Johor more than a lot of states, personally. Yeah. I like how personal, you can see that there's love for like the JTT project, right? So I think if there is some influence in certain parts, we will improve in some ways also lah, with him. So we just got to trust in his decision, I guess, if he were to give that pardon lah. Maybe he has that foresight that I want to shape the country in a specific way. I just don't know what it is.
Wait,
right?
sorry, you mean that the incoming or the already new Agong...
He has a reasoning like Andrew was saying like long term maybe it's like that. I just don't know what, because things change so fast.
No, but it was the previous Agong that gave...
the previous Agong was the one that gave the pardon.
Yeah, it's the previous Agong one.
It's one day before he finished his term.
Shoot. So it was like a parting gift like that to Najib. It's like, okay, I'm going to go out. These last 2 days of power or whatever, here's...
Oh shoot,
Yes.
I thought it was the current one.
The Sultan.
Oh, that's why you're saying Uno reverse.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's not his decision, right? I don't know whether legally he can do that. I mean,
My conversation last night with the boys was very, very different, and maybe everybody was looking at me weird for some reason. That's why I'm like, oh, I don't know why. Oh shoot, okay. That changes things.
Interesting.
I still don't think a lot of things will change, actually. Do you think things will change, y'all?
What things?
Like, just because he's given a pardon, he's given this, do you think a lot of change will happen because as a result of this decision?
Well, I think to begin with, we want change.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't want change.
You want change for the better?
So we want change for the better. And so far, when it comes to cases like this, the change has not become for the better. For
Not many
Zahid,
things do, actually.
for
Personally, to me, I mean, I work in the private sector. I don't give a fuck. That's the honest to God truth, and I think a lot of people resonate with that. You guys can do whatever you want.
But you do take trains though, or buses, public transportation.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to affect the MRT.
Wait, what? You're back to driving?
So you're being
Yeah,
affected
my
by
season
that.
pass already. No, I drive, so it's.
Oh, you drive already?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's a season pass. So it's like, honestly, I think a lot of like urban Chinese demographic really just put their head down, right?
Correct.
You want to give a pardon from 12 to 6 to none to 52, really doesn't give a fuck.
Because most of us just like hammer down on the work anyway.
Yeah,
But if we say this, we are not considering our other Malaysians who are not so privileged. The one who is staying in Kedah, the one who doesn't have fresh water, clean water.
That's Kelantan, but yeah.
yeah, but then the brilliant irony of it all is the majority of those folks actually support stuff like this.
So are you saying like you voted for it? What, you know, it's like that.
It's not what I'm saying.
They want stability.
Yeah.
I think for us urban folks, that's the dilemma that we have. Like we want things for change, but at the end of the day, we are the ones that is, improving our daily lives. So we are partially invested, but we're not
Fully.
and I wouldn't say we are partially. We're more like 10% invested.
10% in,
Yeah,
maybe.
just 10% in because that's our duty that we need to fulfill.
And maybe, do you think it's also a growth thing because we all slowly become uncles and then like uncles only talk about politics because that's the only thing they can talk about?
But it's
Definitely.
the uncles that are more like into forward WhatsApp messages.
But they don't do anything also.
Huh?
No, they really
no, they
don't
think
do
that when they forward WhatsApp messages, that's their national service.
Yeah, they do think that way.
My dad recently just sent a TikTok video, right, in the WhatsApp group, and he tagged Andrew, and he was saying, look how stupid Americans are when they were questioning the TikTok CEO about his nationality. And I'm just like, wow, my dad, really damn new level, man. Imagine, right, in a reverse scenario, right, there's a white guy, right, who sent like a WhatsApp message. Oh, sorry, they don't use it. I don't know. iMessage, yeah. It's like, look how stupid Malaysian guys are. You know what I mean? It's like,
I know.
my dad just forwards lah, so I don't really know. Maybe they just forward lah. You know what I'm trying to say is maybe uncles just forward only lah.
So are we coming to our end of this episode?
We actually still have
A good 15 minutes?
man.
Yeah.
So we can. I have a few thoughts also. lah. I think that, sorry to say, what we would call corruption actually runs the country. Because it is hard. Let's say if I own, let's say if I'm someone of influence and you want to build a railway track through this land where I have to give the green light.
You have to.
And I own the area, and then you have to pay me in a different way to get the thing done. Is that truly corruption? Like, is that kind of corruption bad? Just pay a little bit more. Just one guy gets some benefit, but net the thing still jalan.
I think it's,
That's actually how the world works back in those days. And I think we're not too far away from those times.
So, I mean, into Najib's case, right? Okay, let's say magically becomes PM in G18. Okay? G18.
that's a fucking movie right there, but okay.
But here's the thing, and here are all my non-Bumi friends, right? He removes good 70%. And we had an article I shared in our WhatsApp group that he said in back 2011, he said, I will remove like these quotas and all these privileges got to go, but we still need some sort of structure to help those who are not privileged, which in this case, he means a lot of Bumi Putras. Okay, let's say he becomes PM. Yes, he's a corrupted guy. Yes, he doesn't say he's not, what's the word? He's not sorry for what he did. Yes, he cost the nation all that, but he balances our budget. He controls our deficit, which he was on the way of undoing before he got into jail. He removes all the quotas. He brings in all these big multinationals. He completes ECRL and HSR and all that without breaking the bank. He improves Malaysia, Singapore.
That's a long list, MJ. But at the same time, he's also the same person that was responsible for appointing himself as the finance minister and the prime minister, and then also screwing up and then losing that tons of money. So all the goodwill.
So what I'm saying is that these were his brainchilds.
Right?
So these are all his brainchilds, and this is what he wanted to do. And outside of one NDB, all of the ones that I mentioned, there was progress towards it. So let's say if he achieves that, or he achieves 70-80% of that, how will you all respond?
So the phrase is like, we must let that go for the greater good.
But this is politics, right? I mean,
yeah, Andrew, what do you think?
I don't know.
I think, okay, strictly from a results perspective.
Oh, sorry. Before I add, then ringgit goes back to $3.30 and 50, which is during his era.
Yeah.
Let's say, okay. Continue.
Okay, so I think, okay, two angles I'll answer this. The first angle is strictly from a output perspective. Output perspective is, I'm not willing to exclude 1MDB from the equation.
Of course.
Okay, so 1MDB on one side, deficit of fuck all money. Okay, on the other,
$4.5 billion US.
yeah. On the other side, right? Let's say he does 70-80% of the list that you've mentioned or whatever list that he has. Okay, basically an amazing amount of output. Ballpark, it's not going to cover the first cohort. So from an output perspective, I don't see him bringing that much incremental value.
I'm in that camp.
Okay, that's output perspective. From a base, like from the perspective of, during his era, XYZ did really well. Therefore, it is likely for him to do XYZ really well if he is PM in G18.
Yes.
I feel that is not because of Najib. XYZ in the past did really well. Like say tax went up, tax revenue went up, right? All your key metrics went up. It's a symptom of the global economy at that time.
Oh, so it does not necessarily mean it would repeat.
You were at the right place at the right time. Congrats. Good for you. You get some credit, but certainly not all of it.
Yeah, I think he became PM in 2009, which is like the bottom of the economy.
Sure. Yeah. It's only up from there, right? If he became PM now, do you really think the ringgit would be 3.5 to the US dollar? I think probably not, because he would not be able to influence anything between US and China relations, right? You're a small potato, macro factors. So any incremental gain that happened during his tenure in the past is partially at best attributed to his presence.
Yeah.
So even if you were to use that percentage to the future, it's going to be a very, very small gain. And then if you look at the other perspective of from an output level, it doesn't tally. So my perspective is, you don't need to be here.
In fact, it could be worse also, because now, because of the damage you've done based on that first angle in terms of the output perspective, right? Could be worse because now you're going to be like, oh, you're back. Could be worse now.
And if you really just think about it, right, how much incremental value can one man bring to the table anyway? Yes, you have the most powerful position in the land, but
what can
you really make up $4.5 billion US during your future tenure? I really doubt it.
I was listening to this podcast with this guy named Neil Howe, who's the writer of The Fourth Turning. I mentioned this in the previous podcast, right? And he was also saying how it's so strange how there have been so many leaders in the course of history, not just Malaysia, but across the world for various countries. But no one leader has ever sit down with this group of elite team members and go, let's just pick one problem and solve that problem. No one has ever done that.
How can you do it? Right?
Yeah, no, I don't understand why we cannot even do it. Let's just focus on the solving. Let's be real, we all have work, right? We have jobs, right?
Yeah.
We have projects, and if let's say there were concurrent projects that happened, you would have to take it one step at a time, complete one at a time, You're not, But I don't know why they don't do this. Like for example, let's say I am instated as Prime Minister. If I were to sit down with my whole group of team and be like, hey guys, I'm here to make a difference. I really just want to make at least one difference in my tenure as Prime Minister. Let's fix one thing. Let's just pick one thing. Just pick one thing. My whole campaign for the next 4 years, let's just make this happen. So for example, let's pick education. And I will say, okay, STEM subjects always in English. We will do very big incentives for teachers to do etc. etc. I'll have multiple like consultants come in, give me their input as to what works best in our region, what works best in other regions, how to implement. All these are things, right? So in my first year, I would do this. The second year, roll out. Third year, see the results, make changes. Fourth year, you just pick one thing basically. But there's no one leader who ever does this. So you're right. I don't know why, no matter what, you choose one person, they will never do it anyway. And if history serves us right, it won't happen lah. So no point also, right? This whole system also memang like, what's the point?
I think the reason why is because let's say if you have a job, right? You only report to basically one person. In this case, your boss, or maybe your client, or maybe a handful of clients. But who does a democratic leader report to?
To the people,
right? But the problem is, the people have different voices.
Yeah, because people have different opinions.
Especially in Malaysia, right? You say one thing, you get a bunch of people like, yeah.
And the other go, nah.
Like, nah. So like, and because you have to maintain power and then get things done, that's very, very difficult. One of the reasons why Singapore is so successful, the government is so successful, is because
size, scale.
Is the size, yes. Largely one type of people.
Oh, that's true.
To make happy. There's no fear of opposition.
Similar viewpoints.
So it's basically a dictatorship in that sense. It's a democratic dictatorship.
I would approach the complexity of a country that is the size of Malaysia or anything bigger in a more numerical fashion. So you have a list of potential things you want to do, an exhaustive list. Everything you could potentially do
to
make your goal. And then you just, you survey the fucking shit out of it, right? You collect data. And yes, like let's say the top on the list is, let's say, currency, hypothetically, right? You are going to make the most people happy by doing this.
Oh, I see.
Then you have to do that. Then if you have capacity, you go down to number 2. And number 3.
There's a priority list, basically.
Is super numerically driven. And granted, maybe your surveys are skewed. Maybe the people asking questions asked it in a different way, which skewed the narrative, whatever, right? But at least there's a methodology to it.
And there's progress, That's the thing. Because I feel right now there's always this, I'm multitasking, quote and unquote, and I'm just trying to put out fires.
And I think
it feels that way.
To Andrew's point, I don't know whether you agree with this. The sort of people that you describe, let's say such as yourself or whoever would want to do this in this,
It's the private sector.
Yes, but these kind of people don't get elected.
Yeah.
Imagine you tell people like, all right, guys, here's what we're going to do. Okay, so we want to improve the roads and the toilets, right? So we got to have step 1, step 2. Bro, your speech is over. No one is interested. And this is true not just for developing countries like us. This is true for your Americas of this world. Why did Trump get elected? Did he get elected because
it's a feeling?
He came up with this step by step.
He just went, let's build a wall.
Build the wall, right?
Yeah. No, but actually there is a distinction between how you fix problems and prioritize them and how you present yourself. What you need in the political sphere are individuals who know when to do either.
Yes.
Which is not difficult, actually. I feel like
it is fairly scarce, I think, in the context of Malaysia. Because if you look at like the 32, 33 odd million population, large percentage illiterate and uneducated, right? You've only got a small cohort left.
It's true.
Of which you can only carve out perhaps a single digit percentage of people who are potentially capable. Then the question is, are they of the right race? I reckon there's a very, 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 very finite percentage, right? You have to be born in like the Razak family, for example, for you to fit that criteria. But fundamentally, like, I'm sure GB, given the chance, he could do both. I'm very certain he's smart enough and charismatic enough to do both. The question is, why wouldn't you? So then it's a question of morals, I think. Right? Morally, are you of that nature to understand that, okay, I'm of the privileged few who can do both, let me do the right thing? That carves out an even smaller percentage, if there's any left.
The filter just keeps getting lower and lower. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
That's true. But then again, that's also the same for many other countries. Even if you were like, let's say American, you were, you're carved out, you're et cetera, et cetera. Even in the whole tenure of the US presidency, how many? It's a handful of them who actually have that same moral value and that charisma and that work process.
That's why America's problem to the solution is No, like the government should not be in charge of a lot of things. People go figure out, which in a way that's where Malaysia somewhat is as well. Right? Because the shittiest people in Malaysia go to the top. But a country like Singapore is the reverse. The best go to the top in politics. And the shittiest people go
just
to the
phase
bottom.
out.
Or they are just on Reddit complaining or whatever. Right? So that's the structure, you know.
It's unfortunate lah.
I actually feel a good way to sort of supplement this is if you reward and you make it people's. Sorry, let me just give an example. It's easier to illustrate. If I get out of college as a business grad, my dream is to work in BCG, Bain and McKinsey.
Okay.
Right? Because it pays top dollar. It gives me the pinnacle of prestige. You give me those two things in the context of working in the government. So I get to tell people as proudly as I do if I were to go to BCG, I work in EPF. I work in BNM. I work in BNM. And people are like, fuck me, bro.
Wait, sorry, I mean you
basically you want to be Singapore lah, right?
No, as in like, I would rather choose to work in BNM than McKinsey.
Yeah, because the offer there is so lucrative, so attractive. It attracts the best talent.
So if you ask me, right, I want my tax money, right, to go and pay top fucking dollar, right, to fresh grads to attract them, pay them fucking 20K fresh grad, get them in to work in BNM or whatever fuck, right, and then let that snowball.
But we go back to the original conversation that we've had like a few months back, which is not many people pay tax in the first place lah.
And also again, even the existing Madani government is trying to cut benefits from ministers and all that.
Exactly. But I mean, I feel it's okay actually to pay them top dollar. It is as a percentage of money lost, right? Yeah, it's okay one. It's not going to change the world.
Because it's so small compared to the overall budget.
Compared to education budget lah.
Precisely.
Oh my God.
That's a slippery slope. I have a lot of things to say, but that's not the point of this conversation.
But again, I go back to the politics, right? So in Singapore, you can pay each minister 1 million Sing because they don't really have to care about.
But their reserves are mad, bro. Their reserves are like 3 generations worth.
No, but I mean, like they don't have to care about the people's opinion on this.
Oh, yeah.
So only Singaporeans complain. We are suffering, GST go up 7-8%, whatever it is.
Then go Japan.
Pay your minister, pay 1 million Sing, right? Then the government don't care lah. Lee Kuan Yew just responded, you pay peanuts, get monkeys. So end of discussion, right?
Heard that too many times, but yes.
Right?
Andrew knows.
But in Malaysia, it's like, hey, cannot use CX5, you know? Or you cannot pay so much, you need to save money here and there. So that's the difference. So anyway, my conclusion is just work in the private sector lah. Screw the guy.
That's my conclusion as well. Yeah. Honestly, just work in the private sector, put your head down, fucking earn enough money, save your nest egg, retire.
Yeah.
And just die.
And you're good, man.
Yeah. Always remember that you cannot change through the government.
But are we saying this?
I like he said it and smart at the end like it's an ad like that.
No, because people believe that. Right? People actually believe
I agree with that
change.
completely.
You cannot change.
But does this saying discourages people from getting into politics?
That's the best thing. We need to discourage people to get into politics because they're already filled with all these people become bad people when they go into politics.
Getting into politics.
Yeah. Good people become bad people when they get into politics. Or the good people who stay good end up becoming sports ministers.
That's sad.
And then gonna convict them.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, bro, if you're watching
Former
this.
and existing
hard.
ministers. That's how politics is. So what we need to do is to ask the government to stop having more responsibilities. Don't give an opinion on how schools should be. We should cut the budget. Say, no, give back people, lower the taxes, and let people figure out. If that means that there's going to be enclaves of SJKCs and whatever, it's fine. Better than whatever it is now, right?
Let the free market decide.
Education is a separate podcast, and I think we need to end. So
He's got what? He hasn't mentioned his opinion.
No, I don't have much. But adding to that, who's gonna fix the pothole at the street nearby if we don't have the budget for it?
See, that's another thing. Just get the community, just give 50 ringgit each, you can fix the pothole already or less.
So then the community will then be asking money and the whole thing will start all over again. The community people is going to politic for more budget.
No, but at least now, right, if you have a local government and you have an issue, you go straight to the fellow's office and you bang table. Better yet, if they have
more
an Instagram
decentralized
account and you spam their DMs, right?
Yeah.
That's way better than
I have to be honest, but Teresa Kok ain't doing nothing. Just saying.
There is a point.
She
pretty good
Oye
point.
actually spoke to her regarding all the potholes and everything. She just said, "Oh, we are working on it. We have been pushing very hard, but it doesn't work."
Might as well reply with an email.
It's basically too much red tape either way.
Okay, I think that's it, John. You want to close it off?
Yeah, thanks guys for tuning in for this very fast one podcast, VFO. You know, let us know what you think about this whole 45-minute thing. We feel like it's shorter and sweeter. We don't really try
More
to
focus.
Yeah, definitely more focus. Andrew digs it.
I dig it.
Yeah. So let us know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, don't forget to follow us on Spotify. And also, if you guys want to collaborate, work with us, let us know. DM us on Instagram or email us.
Patreon.
And Patreon, yeah.
Next time.
Yeah. Love you long time, guys. Peace.